Hello and welcome to this exclusive Facebook Q&A on American Gods with the co-showrunner and executive producer, Bryan Fuller. My name is Helen O'Hara. I'm the editor-at-large of Empire Magazine, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here because I'm such a huge fan of the show. But you didn't come for me. You've come to see Bryan Fuller, so it gives me great pleasure to say welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
You're, of course, behind series from Dead Like Me, Wonderfuls, Pushing Daisies, Hannibal, which everybody in their right mind loves, and now American Gods. And we're going to take questions from readers in a minute. You can post them in the comments, by the way, under this video. But I have to start for myself. I've read this book maybe 4 times at least. So for those who aren't as up on it, can you kind of explain what it is and tell us what you're doing?
American Gods is a book written by Neil Gaiman, and it came out in 2001, and that was about the time that I read it, and Michael Green had read it at the same time. It's really, in movie pitch terms, it's Clash of the Titans by way of the Grifters, and there's a wonderful quality of the show is based on the concept of thought form, which is essentially if you believe in something enough, you can manifest it into reality. And all of these gods have been manifested into reality by their various worshipers, traveled with those worshipers to the Americas, where those worshipers either died off or adopted other religions and left them to fend for themselves and as strangers in a strange land.
And now what?
And now what exactly?
Now, American Gods will be screening outside of the US on Amazon Prime Video in 2017. Let's take a look at the trailer.
I love you. Something feels weird.
Shadow, we're going to be releasing you a couple of days early. There's no good way to say this, so I'll put it plain. Your wife, she died in the early hours of this morning.
Hey girl, don't lie to me. Tell me, where did you sleep last night?
So what would I call you if I was so inclined?
Shadow Moon, what might I call you?
What's today?
Wednesday.
Today's my day.
I could use a fellow like you.
You're my man now.
You know who he is? Who he really is?
He does not know our world.
I'm easing him in.
I think I'm losing my mind. They told me you died.
Who said I died, Puppy?
Seems you have a choice.
Either the world is crazy.
In the pines where the sun don't never shine,
Or you are.
I will shiver the whole night through.
Come with me.
That's awesome. Now, we've collected a few fan questions already to get things started, but obviously post your own in the comments underneath. But Edda Arendt asks, will the Coming to America passages be in the show? And you probably should explain what those are, just in case anyone hasn't read the book.
There are different vignettes in the novel that are essentially how the various gods have come to America and what their experience as immigrants are. And they're some of the most exciting aspects of the book, and absolutely they'll be included. In fact, most of the episodes begin with the Coming to America from the different gods' points of view, and that sets up almost a thematic umbrella under which we tell the episode story.
Awesome. And someone called Molly asked, how much will I cry out of 10?
Oh gosh, in varying degrees, I could say probably a good solid 8.
Ooh, okay. But you could probably plot it on a graph up and down, right?
Yeah. That could go up to 10 and go down to 6. But there's, if you're a passionate Neil Gaiman fan, as I am and Michael is, our goal was absolutely to curate this experience for the Neil Gaiman fan. So depending on your enthusiasm, you may cry more.
Wow, awesome. I've also seen that Stevie Detter wants to know, when will I be able to have it in my eyeballs?
Are we allowed to say?
I'm not sure.
I don't think we're allowed to say yet because it hasn't been specifically announced, but let's say spring 2017.
All right, that's close enough. Now we have a question next from someone that you might recognize, Brian. He's sent in a little video, so let's have a look at that.
Oh, Brian, hello. How are you? I hope you're enjoying London, my wonderful homeland. Oh, how I've missed thee, like the deserts miss the rain. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. Anyway, my question for you, my good man, is what was it like working with such world-class actors on American Gods, such as Ricky Whittle? Okay, and others.
He's so humble.
He is a delight. One of the things that I love, and particularly about working with Ricky Whittle, is that Ricky takes very seriously his position as a leader on the show. He is #1 on the call sheet, which is a very important position because you set the tone for the rest of the cast. And Ricky shows up every day to the set with smiles and hugs and humor. And I adore that man, and I adore the responsibility that he takes in making sure that the environment for the crew is a positive working environment, because there are a lot of people there who are working a lot longer hours for a lot less pay, and Ricky treats everyone on that set with maximum respect, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for him as a result.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm not sure he was quite finished though, so let's just make sure.
Ricky's never quite
Hello,
finished.
Brian. One more question. Yes, so we meet Shadow in a very tough time. What would you tell the fans about him? Enjoy England. Have a bacon button meal, chap.
Well, Shadow Moon, who is the protagonist of the story, is a man that we meet in prison, and we understand that through a circuitous series of events that he was a former thief who redeemed himself and then somehow found him back on the wrong side of the law. And the sad state of affairs for Shadow is that he's about to get out of prison, but he is let out a few days early because his wife dies tragically in a car accident. And
that's Emily Browning's character.
Played by Emily Browning. And so Shadow is at a place in his life where he has lost everything and is vulnerable, and that is exactly what Mr. Wednesday wants to take advantage of.
Ooh, setting up everything that follows. Now we have a question from online. Nick Whitney asks, what's your favorite god, and how were they translated into a TV show character?
You know, there's so many great gods on this show. One of my favorites, I would have to say, is Bilquis. There's a fantastic chapter in the book that we get to see that Bilquis is a god of sex, and an ancient god of sex, and one of the most iconic scenes from the book, which is essentially how Bilquis absorbs her worship, so to speak. And yes, and it is perhaps the most iconic chapter in the book. And I remember distinctly when we sat down with the network to talk about what we would do with the series, their first question was, how are you going to do that scene? And our response was exactly as written. And we were so fortunate to find Yetide Badaki to bring Bilquis to life, and she is someone who her audition was that scene, and it's a very tricky scene for those who know the book and know the scene. It was the strangest audition that Michael and I have ever participated in, and she handled herself with such elegance and dignity, which could have gone wrong in so many ways, because it is a compromising position that she's in as an actor, and she transcended the material and really brought it to life in an unexpected way. And one of the many things that I love about Yetide is that she is as big a geek as I am, as Michael is, as any of us. She loves science fiction and fantasy. And it was a delight to meet her and count her as a friend. And I'm grateful to be on my knees in worship of both Yetide and Bilquis.
Well, it's funny you should mention her because we have another video question.
Oh goodness.
Hey Brian, Yetide here. Quick question. How would you describe Bilquis to the fans? And is it true that she has a more expanded role in the series as compared to in the book?
How I would describe Bilquis. She is an ancient Babylonian goddess of love and sex in particular. And in the book, she's in it for one chapter, and she has like a little footnote moment at the end of the movie, as it were, in terms of the literary movie. And how we've expanded her, one of the things that Michael and I felt was very important in this adaptation, because the book is essentially Shadow and Wednesday's story. It's a sausage party with a couple of guys in a car traveling the Americas, and it was very important for us to expand the roles of women in the show, particularly Bilquis and Laura. And what we're doing with that case in particular with Bilquis is really trying to understand who she is, how she gains worship, and what her relationship is with the new gods. And we have an advance in technology from the point when the book was first written in 2001, where we didn't have Facebook, and we didn't have Twitter, and we didn't have Tinder and Grindr and these sex apps. And so one of the great things that we get to explore with Bilquis is how an old god can utilize new gods to make a new role for herself in modern day society.
Because the new gods are technology and media and these kind of things.
Yeah, so she takes advantage of it in a very interesting way, and we get to see, particularly with her story, the struggle of what it is to be an old god used to old ways of worship and being now put into modern society and have to find new ways to be worshipped.
To survive, yeah. Now you can keep sending in your questions in the comments below, but I have one from Zach Juhar, who says, "Hey Brian, Zach here from Scotland, huge fan. Will American Gods be a one-off season, or will you adapt more material from the book?"
We are hoping that it will go many seasons, and one of the things that was a joy in adapting the book is that we were constantly surprised about these pockets of stories that were unexpected, and there are things that we were intending to do with the first season right around episode 4, but as we got to digging into the characters and really loving telling the character stories, we moved that sequence, which was going to be very early on, into season 4, and moved it into season 2, because we had found that the book is essentially ideally the abbreviated version of the story, and that we have much more real estate in a long-form television format to tell a bigger, greater story of these gods in America. And we hope that there are many, many, many seasons, Zach, to come that get into all of the facets of the book.
Fingers crossed. I think we have another video question.
Oh, great.
Let's just have a look.
Hello Brian, welcome to merry old England. Very much hope you're well and everyone's treating you with all the respect and all the love that one such as you deserves, which is lots. My questions are as follows. With Tech Boy, what are the limits of his powers? Does he actually have any, given that they are directly linked to technology, which is exponentially growing? Is there a glass ceiling? Is he just going to keep on keeping on? And my other question, how would you describe him? How do you describe Tech Boy? Lots of people aren't quite fond of him. I'm personally in love with him. But yeah, your call. And my third and final question, generally, were these all right? Maybe Peter could answer.
Yeah, it's good.
Where do I get that?
We will get you one. That is our crew shirt. What was the first question that he asked? It was who is the technical boy?
Well, who is he, and what are his powers? I guess.
One of the interesting things about the adaptation, since the book was written in 2001, a lot of the technical boy's aesthetic was really kind of tied into the fetishism of the Matrix and the black leather trench coats and those types of styles. And we thought with what's happening with fashion now is becoming so technology friendly, and 3D printing and the fashion world inspired us to suggest that every time we see the technical boy, we see him in a completely different outfit with a completely different hairstyle, because fashion has become as fluid as technology. And as far as the technical boy's powers, we get to see a couple of different manifestations of how he operates and how he moves in and out of realities. And one of the wonderful things that David Slade, our director of the first couple of episodes, created was God flesh. And when we see the gods, we see them as what they are, because they are not human beings made of flesh and blood. They are thought forms. So they are formed from all of their worshipers, whether you're looking at a screen or utilizing
burning incense or something.
Yes, exactly. You were giving them worship and power. So we have a different style of God flesh for all of the different gods, and the technical boy is the first time that we see that effect, and it's quite stunning to see him assembled out of the various technologies that he employs as a god of technology.
Wow, that's fascinating. I think we have time for one more quick question anyway. Naomi Roper has asked, she said, completely in love with Emily Browning since she was in a series of unfortunate events.
Yes.
Yeah. Will Laura Moon be a bigger part of the series than she was of the book?
Yes, Naomi, I hope that you're as excited about what Emily Browning does with this character as we are. That was one of the joys in the casting process. One of the many joys was casting Emily Browning. And when Michael and I first sat down with her, what we loved about Emily is that she is traditionally cast in these sweetheart roles. Mm-hmm. And she loved not being the heart and soul of the story. She loved that she gets to play a dick. And that Laura Moon is somebody who is a very complex character. And one of the other things that I loved about Emily's approach to Laura was that she really saw her as a role model. Even though as unlikable as she is, Emily brings a sense of likability, and the role model that Emily wants this character to inspire in other young women is the ability not to care what other people think of you. And that is something that was very important for Emily to convey. Down to little details about Laura doesn't shave her underarms because it's comfortable for her not to, and feeling that a lot of women do shave their underarms as an aesthetical choice to please others, and that's something that Laura wouldn't do because she doesn't care what other people think of her, and she wants to give that freedom of identity to other young women who might find inspiration in this character. And to answer the other part of your question about how we've expanded Laura's role in the show, she, as you know in the book, she is essentially Shadow's wife who cheated on him, and she shows up and she disappears, and she shows up and she disappears, and she shows up and she disappears. And what we felt, also going to why we expanded the role of Bilquis on the show, is that we needed much more female representation in the story. And in particular, I love writing women, and I have a history of writing dead women. So it was, between Pushing Daisies and Dead Like Me, it was an opportunity to dig into the character and tell a story that was beyond what we saw in the book. And really, we have two pilots for American Gods. And we have the first episode that is from Shadow Moon's point of view. And then in episode 4, we rewind the story from before we met Shadow, and we meet Laura temporally before we meet any other characters. And we have an entire episode that is all about her point of view. And then from that moment forward, the series is really about Shadow's story intertwining with Laura's story. And so if you're a fan of Emily Browning, I think you're going to be thrilled with what she does with this character. And she brings such a specificity to Laura, and also to Essie McGowan, who was Tregowan in the book, but it's McGowan. In our story, she plays Essie in an episode called A Prayer for Mad Sweeney, and it is essentially how Mad Sweeney came to America. But because the story is being told,
sorry, he's the 7-foot leprechaun.
And played by Pablo Schreiber, who is
Brilliant.
Fantastic in the show. So Emily had quite a bit to do, and we loved being able to tell that story. It was one of Michael and I's favorite stories from the book. So bringing that to life, and as we were talking about who do we cast to play Essie, we had gone through a few actors that weren't available for various reasons, and Michael turned to me and said, is it so strange if we just had Emily play the role? And simultaneously to reading the script, Emily reached out and said, if you haven't found somebody for Essie, what about me playing it? And it was synchronous.
Serendipity, wow. I'm afraid we're nearly out of time, Brian, but before we go, are you up for a little game?
Sure, I love games.
Okay, so it's quick fire questions. Word association. Mustn't pause, mustn't hesitate. I say a word and you say the first thing that comes into your head. Okay? You haven't seen these. You don't know what I'm going to say. Anyway. New gods.
Old gods.
Old gods.
New gods.
Oh, it's cheating. Mr. Wednesday.
Shadow Moon.
Shadow Moon.
Mr. Wednesday.
Oh, this is cheating. The Crocodile Bar.
And is it just one word?
Well, it's 3 words.
Okay. An unexpected place of worship.
Love.
Gods.
Faith.
Hope.
American Gods.
Dazzling.
Well, listen, thank you very, very much for that. I think we're pretty much out of time, although I do notice that Romina has sent in a message just saying awesome sweater, which I have to echo.
Thank you very much. It's the birds and the bees.
Oh, yes, so it is. It should really be a Thunderbird, shouldn't it?
Yes, yes, and there's rabbits too, so it's my animagus.
Very good. I want to thank you anyway for joining us today for this exclusive American Gods Facebook chat. For all the latest on the series, you can follow us on Facebook here at American Gods, and also on your local Amazon video page. But I'm going to leave it to you, Brian, to say the last words, so if you can show us out.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in for this Facebook special, and also we look forward to joining you in watching American Gods and having a conversation about what it is to be an immigrant in these very trying times, and we hope that you are having a thought-provoking experience with American Gods as well as a very entertaining one, and we'll see you this spring. Subscribe to